Hello everyone, welcome. So today we will be discussing about molecular basis of inheritance. So we have already learned how inheritance is taking place, and now we are going to study what is the molecular basis of that. So if we think about it, is the genetic material which is getting inherited. So it is the DNA or it is the RNA. So deoxyribonucleic acid is DNA, ribonucleic acid is RNA. So these are the genetic material in all the organisms. So RNA, it acts as genetic material in some viruses and they function as a messenger. RNA, if we talk about, it has also been functioning as an adapter, structural, and in some cases catalytic molecule. If we talk about DNA, it undergoes replication, and herein there is a process of making RNA from DNA. So that is known as transcription, and from the RNA, when it is getting into the amino acid and the proteins, that is protein synthesis is happening, that is known as translation. So one is transcription where the mRNA is produced, and translation is where the protein is being produced. Okay, now coming specifically to DNA. DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. Okay, so now the length of DNA is defined as the number of nucleotides which is present in it. So if I say, if for example a bacteriophage which is 5175, so has 5386 nucleotides. So this bacteriophage lambda has 48,502 base pairs. E. coli 4.6 into 10 raised to 6 base pairs. So it is depending on how many base pairs or how many nucleotides are present. Now what is the structure of polynucleotide chain? So if we talk about the structure, so a nucleotide, it has got 3 components. So these 3 components are, there is one nitrogenous base, there is a pentose sugar that is there. Okay, so there is a pentose sugar that is there, and that is ribose in RNA and deoxyribose in DNA, and there is a phosphate group. So this is how we have each molecule. Okay, so there are 2 types of nitrogenous bases. One is purine and one is pyrimidine. Okay, so purine are basically adenosine and guanine, and pyrimidine are thymine and thymine and as well as cytosine, and when I write thymine, it has uracil as well. Okay, so thymine, uracil and cytosine are the pyrimidine, and purines are the adenosine and the guanine. Okay, next, cytosine is common for both DNA and RNA. So if we talk about, what are the nucleotides which is present in DNA and RNA? So cytosine is there both for DNA and RNA. Okay, and then after that, if we talk about adenosine is also present in both, guanine is also present in both, but in DNA, what is thymine? That will be uracil in RNA. So what we have, thymine in DNA will be uracil in RNA. Okay, so this is about the different nucleotides that we have. The nitrogenous base is linked to the OH of 1' C pentose sugar through N-glycosidic linkage to form a nucleoside such as adenosine or deoxyadenosine, guanine or deoxyguanine, cytidine or deoxycytidine, uridine or deoxythymidine. So this is how it is going to happen. Okay, so there are two nucleotides which are linked through 3' 5' phosphodiesterase linkage to form a dinucleotide. So more nucleotides they can join in such a manner so that they form a polynucleotide chain, and so there is a polymer chain which is being formed in the moiety of 5' end, so which is referred to as 5', and 3' there is an OH, free OH group. Okay, so they are linked by a phosphodiesterase bond that is happening. So the backbone of the polynucleotide chain is formed due to the sugar and phosphate, and the nitrogenous base which is linked to the sugar moiety project from the backbone. Now in RNA what happens? RNA, every nucleotide residue has an additional OH group which is present in the 2' position of the ribose, and in RNA uracil is found at a place in the place of thymine. Now the DNA as an acidic substance, it was first identified by Friedrich Miescher in 1869, and he named it as nuclein. Okay, he named it as nuclein. However, there were some technical limitations in isolating and elucidating the DNA for a very long time. So it was then after that it was James Watson and Francis Crick, that is Watson and Crick, based on X-ray diffraction, they produce X-ray diffraction that was produced by Maurice Wilkins and Rosalind Franklin. They proposed the double helix model of the DNA. They gave the double helix model of the DNA. So the base pairing confers a very unique property of the polypeptide chains, and they form a complementary to each other. There are two strands which are complementary to each other. Okay, so let us talk about what are the features that is there in double helix structure of DNA. So it is made of two polynucleotide chains, as it is said. Okay, where the backbone is constituted by sugar phosphate and the base project inside. Then there are two chains. One is 5' to 3' polarity and the other is 3' to 5'. The base in the two strands are paired through hydrogen bonds and they form a base pair. So adenine forms two hydrogen bonds with thymine, and cytosine forms 3 hydrogen bonds with guanine. So the two chains, they are coiled in right hand fashion, that is it is right helix. They form a right helix structure. Okay, and then the plane of one base pair stacks over the other double helix. This, in addition to hydrogen, confers stability of the helical structure. Okay, so this is how it is, and now very soon what happened was Francis Crick, he proposed the central dogma in the molecular biology. So what is central dogma? Central dogma is DNA would form RNA, and this RNA would form the protein. So DNA forming RNA is transcription, and RNA to protein is translation. So this transcription and translation was given by central dogma, and there is a replication of DNA that is taking place, and there is a transcription when it is forming the mRNA, and then from mRNA the formation of protein is translation. Now the point is, how is the DNA helix in package? Okay, so what happens in prokaryote, because DNA strand is a very long strand, it's a very long strand, it has so many base pairs. So in prokaryotic such as E. coli, they do not have defined nucleus. So it is scattered throughout the cell. So that is where I call it as a nucleoid. But in eukaryotes, what is happening? It is much more complex. So there is set of positively charged basic proteins which are known as histones. So there are these proteins which are known as histones. Okay. And this protein, they acquire the charge depending on the abundance of the amino acid residues with charged side chains. Now the histones, they are very rich in the basic amino acids like lysine, arginine. So both the amino acid residues carry positive charges in their side chain. Histones are organized to form histone octamer. See, they are coiled together, they will form the histone octamer. Okay, and the negatively charged DNA, it will wrap around this histone complex. Okay, and that is where they will form the nucleosome. So nucleosome, it will consist of repeating units of a structure of the nucleus, which is called as chromatin. Thread-like repeating units, thread-like strained bodies seen in the nucleus. So that is the chromatin. Now beads on string structured in chromatin is packed to form the chromatin fibers, which are further coiled and they are condensed in the metaphase stage. And this packaging of the chromatin at higher level requires additional set of proteins which is known as non-histone chromosomal proteins. Non-histone chromosomal proteins. And in a typical nucleus, some regions of the chromatin are very loosely packed and they are known as euchromatin. They are known as euchromatin. And where there is densely packed, they are known as heterochromatin. Loosely packed, they are euchromatin, and very densely packed, they are heterochromatin. Now, euchromatin is said to be transcriptionally active chromatin, whereas heterochromatin is inactive. Okay, so that's it in this video. Thank you.